All right, so next we are going to go on to Tamara, and she is the owner of Simplicity. There we go, Sweet Simplicity Professional Organizing, and she serves both Milwaukee and the surrounding areas. Tamara works with those who are ready to downsize and looking for those who are looking for assistance to declutter before they want to move or sell their house. Anyone who needs assistance with someone's estate and they're looking to help, and then also those who are looking to help create an organizing system for their home or small business. Tamara's clients appreciate her goal to keep the environment in mind by working to reduce, reuse, and recycle as best as she can with items that she has and the items that people are willing to let go of. And one of the services that Tamara offers is virtual organizing. Not only does Sweet Simplicity come to you with a one-on-one in your home, but through virtual organizing, Tamara can work with clients online. So it's a great service for those who want help decluttering and tackling and getting organized during the times that we're currently living in. So Tamara, go ahead and you can explain to us tips for digital organization.
All right, let's see if I can share my screen now. I'll get it. All right. Do you see it?
Yes, we can. Excellent.
Okay. So first I wanted to say good morning to everyone that was able to come today and thank Michelle and Amanda for having me here. I'm really excited to share some of the things that I have for some quick tips to organize your digital life. So first I want to ask, are you using your computer for both personal and business use? Because you'll want to be separating these files unless there is some reason that you need to combine them. Also, who is using your computer? Is it for employees or family members to be sharing and saving files to the computer? Because you might want to have separate folders for each one of them in addition to the common folders that everyone will be sharing and saving to. So we'll talk about sorting your files. Determine the general categories that you are keeping on your computer. Here are some examples. Are you saving financial documents? Do you need a media folder for your pictures, your music, your videos? Are you keeping files on there for your kids' school and sports and maybe music or something? Do you want to have a root folder for your inspiration, your New Year's resolutions, for that future vacation you're going to finally get to have, or your fitness plan for this year? When I was writing today's presentation, preparing for it, I realized that home organizing and digital organizing is very similar. And when I'm working with clients, I'm letting them know that there's no one style fits all when it comes to organizing. And a lot of people will go online and look for ideas for getting their home organized. And then they'll go out and they'll buy all these different bins and organizing systems that they invest in, and then they find that they're not using them and things just don't change. They're not able to maintain things. So I explain to my clients that there are micro organizers and there are macro organizers. Now I am a micro organizer. If I went into all of my clients' homes and organized them the way that I organize my own home, then there are going to be clients that are going to contact me later saying this just did not work for me. A micro organizer likes things easy to find, but they don't mind taking the extra steps to put things away. So a micro organizer can use a file cabinet Or I actually do have a sorter like the one where I separate my pencils in one, my pens in another, markers in another, so on. Now a macro organizer, they want it easy to put away and they don't mind taking the extra steps to look for their stuff. So they would be more like the blue framed photos where they might have a box that's just all their receipts or all their kids stuff or all their medical stuff. And they want it easy to put away, and then they can look through the box for what they're looking for. And then their office supplies just might be a cabinet or a bin full of stuff. And neither one of these is better than the other. You just need to figure out which of these works for you. So when we look at micro and macro organizing for digital files, a micro organizer will have their root folder for media, and inside it, there'll be a subfolder for photos. Inside of that would be a subfolder for each one of the years. And they might have a subfolder inside of that if they take a lot of photos to sort them by month. And each month they might have another subfolder breaking it down by special occasion, a wedding, a soccer game, things like that. Now a macro organizer will have the same root folder media with a subfolder for photos. Inside of that, they'll probably have a subfolder for each one of the years, but they'll probably stop right there. And they don't mind looking through all of 2019 for the photo that they're looking for. So you need to determine how you want to categorize your files, what types of subfolders you're going to want for your filing system. This made me think of when I'm working with my clients and we'll be decluttering an area and I'll have a bunch of batteries and I'll ask the client, where do you put your batteries? And sometimes I'm asked, well, where should I put my batteries? You know, what do you suggest? Well, I keep my batteries in the end table in the living room here, but somebody else might keep them in the junk drawer, in the office, in their family room by their electronics and games. When your client is, your accountant is asking you for a document from 2014, where are you going to think of looking for that document? Or if someone asks you for a picture of grandma from the Christmas party in 2007, where are you going to think of looking for that? And that's going to help you decide how you want to organize your files and creating your subfolders. Also, when you're creating this, you want to keep in mind, again, if this is a family computer where others are going to be using it and you're a macro organizer, but they're a macro, if you're a micro and they're a macro, they might have a hard time following the system that you've created because you've made it too complicated for a macro organizer to follow. So keep that in mind when you're creating that. So now we'll talk about naming or labeling your folders and your files. For folder names, consider using all capital letters. For file names, consider using all lowercase letters. Don't abbreviate in your names. I have made this mistake. I thought I was clever. I had no idea what the name was in the file list. I had to go in and figure out what it was, and it made no sense to me. So avoid abbreviations. Use descriptive names and keep them simple, which ties into the next one here. Keep your file names 25 characters or less. It's best, some computers don't work well with spaces between your file names. So you might want to separate with a dash, but don't use an underscore. Also avoid other special characters in your name, although I think most computers will block you from trying to use that. It's great to get in the habit of putting the dates in your email, but don't use January, February, because when you're going to put it in alphabetical order, April's going to come first. So if you put year, month, date, when you are putting them in alphabetical or numeric order, that'll keep them in the correct order. Same with numbering your files. So if you're going to do invoice 1, invoice 2, invoice 3, it's better to have the 001, because you know when you get to 11, it's going to go back up before 2. I do a lot of master copy, and if I went into a folder, my master copy would be down in M. So I like to put AA master copy, so that file is at the top of the list when I open a folder. Then when you're naming your folders, keep in mind that you might move it out of that folder to another one. So if I mentioned the invoice, if you did invoice 1, 2, 3, 4, I'm sorry, if the folder is named invoice and you've named the file 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you decide you want to move that invoice into your client's folder instead, when you move it over, it's just going to say 1, 2, 3, 4. So you're not going to know that that's an invoice. So keep that in mind when you're naming your files, that could be moved, and will it make sense in another location? And most important, it's be consistent. Make sure that you're following the rules that you decide to put together for your folders and your files, that you're consistent throughout. Schedule regular maintenance reminders. So the goal is to keep your desktop clean. You might want to suggest, or I might suggest, that you have a temporary folder. I don't know about you, I'll do a lot of screenshots and then I want to send them to my sister in Messenger or in an email or something, or I was making a draft copy of my Christmas letter. This is a great place to save it in your temporary folder on your desktop, so it's not cluttered around your screen. You know, these are things that if they accidentally get deleted, it's not a big deal. Also, you might want a folder that is labeled to be filed. And if you're just going to do a big dump onto your desktop, put them all in there, that you know you still need to take time to start sorting them out into their folders later. Then you might have files or folders that you use quite frequently. Those you might want to create a shortcut on your desktop to go to those easily. Back up your files regularly. Decide if it's going to be at the end of each day or at the end of each week, but come up with a schedule and a reminder for you to back up your files. It might be in the cloud, or I use an external hard drive and a USB. I haven't moved up to the cloud yet, so I can't tell you a lot about it because I don't know it. Delete old files regularly. I was thinking about how this is similar to when I am working with my clients on paper clutter. And there's a lot of resources online. This is just one, the Susan Orman, that give you lists of how long you should be keeping documents. And if you were naming a file like the one in blue with the year, the month, and that it's a bank statement, and you realize that it's time to clear those all out for the previous year or however long you've decided to keep those, this is an easy name for you to use in searching and choosing the documents that it's time for you to delete. And once you've deleted all of these old files, remember to keep going back and emptying out the trash or recycle bin on your computer. So quick recap is to sort in general categories, organize your subfolders, naming your files and your folders, purge your old files, and remember to maintain, set yourself some reminders to maintain. And that is it. I'm
Thank
done.
you so much. We appreciate this. Any other questions for Tamara or comments? I know that I had some mind-blowing things, and I think people as well, based on the comments we're seeing in the chat. Kathy mentioned that she liked the idea of temporary and to be filed folders. So that was cool. Several of us had a mind explosion with the macro and micro organizing. I know that for me, I realized I'm one and my husband's the other, and that explains so much. So I don't know if anybody else has any thoughts. So those are some things in the chat as well.
I like
I
the
have-
temporary and
Go ahead.
I like the temporary and to be filed as well. And then also thinking about naming a file for when you would be deleting it in the future.
Thanks, Nancy. Go ahead, Susanna.
I have a question for you, Tamara. You had mentioned not to use an underscore when naming files. So I was wondering why.
I am not a computer person. I did a lot of research. This is what I was reading, that they're just different computer systems that don't work. I think it's kind of similar to other characters, that it's not something that I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know personally, sorry.
Oh, okay, because I've been using an underscore for years, and then when you said that, I'm like, oh no, what am I doing?
Right. Well, and I was putting spaces between my words. And so I learned a lot preparing for this today. And I asked a lot of people, and some of them are the computer people. And I asked businesses what they do. And that's one of the things a couple businesses said, they tell their employees not to do an underscore.
That's interesting.
Sorry.
Oh no, that's okay. I appreciate that. I was just curious because I know I do on a regular basis for file naming.
I'll do more digging today.
Yeah,
I have wondered the same thing, Susanna. And maybe Michelle's got something too. Do you have Michelle?
Well, I was gonna say is that it really depends on the computer system that you're using. Our office actually uses exclamation points at the beginning of them. And if you use spaces, as long as your computer system takes it, it honestly doesn't matter too much. It's if you decide to change it. I know spaces can specifically be an issue. I haven't experienced so much the underscores being an issue either. But if it's working for you and it's allowing you to save it that way, I really think for the most part, you're fine.
okay.
That one was kind of flagged in my head too, as she was saying it, but I could also see what she's saying, that it could be like a scene as a special character. But so like maybe it could be like a Windows versus Mac system as well. So that could be part of it, and just the consistency. But as Michelle said, if it's working and it's saving it, it's probably fine. I guess it's just something to keep in mind that underscores can be considered special characters.
Okay. Thank you.
Go ahead,
So
Sheila.
maybe that's more of a thing about whether that file might potentially be shared or emailed to somebody versus just staying on your computer.
I think now that you've said that, I think that was one of the comments that I read, that when you're sharing sending a file to somebody else, that it might not work on their computer.
That makes sense. And that could be a good reason for it. So keep that in mind too. Sheila, go ahead.
Yeah, I just had a comment in manufacturing and some other industries where they need to organize large warehouses of physical objects. There's a system called 5S, and it's sort, standardize, sustain, set in order. There's 5S for these physical systems. And while Tamara was speaking, it occurred to me that the same principles really apply to digital files or to items that aren't these physical boxes or barrels that you're organizing off trucks. But still, it's sorting, it's standardizing, it's sustaining the system. So that was just an interesting parallel that I saw.
Yeah, that was a good point that you both had made, is that if you're organizing an office or home, it actually is similar to how your mind and habits work on your computer and on your electronic files. So yeah, that's a great point.
Well, the
Yeah.
thing is too, that you can't, not everybody's going to do it the same way. And you can, like I said, go online and see, subfolder inside of each one. And that just doesn't work for everybody. And you just have to figure out what part of that is going to end up working for you, that you're going to be able to maintain it without it becoming a mess again.
Kathy, you have your hand raised?
Oh, yeah. I just was going to say, when you were talking about labeling files with the date, I had figured that out some time ago, that you need the year, month, date, in multiple letters in order to sort properly. I had not been doing that for a while and was trying to find something, and I'm like searching and searching like crazy and couldn't find it. And I'm like, okay, we need to find something that works here. And that's the only way I could figure out. And it also works with some of the photos that I've tried to save as well, so that it makes them a whole lot easier to find.
Yeah, picking a file name, it's real important to think about when you're going to be looking for it. What are those words that you're going to need
Right.
to find that specific file? But keep it short.
Right. Well, the other thing too is every year, in like last minute before Christmas, my sister-in-law will contact me and she'll say, I need pictures for the calendar. I have now learned I save them in a special file, pictures for calendar, all year long, dump them in there, and then I can just send her the link to that whole file at one time, because 3 weeks before Christmas is not the time to ask for, somebody to go searching for a slew of pictures.
I think we've all been there. So thank you so much to Tamara. We know that we're kind of at our time limit here, so we want to respect your time. If anybody has further questions, we're happy to answer them in chat, or you can stay on and ask. Thank you again for joining us today. And our next show is going to be 2 weeks from today, January 26th. It's going to be at 2 p.m. As we mentioned, Cody from our office is going to be talking about routers. And Christina Kozlowski is coming back with 10 ways to drive traffic to your website. And then just kind of take note, our next shows, we're going to have 2 in February and 2 in March right now. The February 9th is at 10 a.m. and February 23rd is at 1 p.m. And then the same dates in March 9th at 10 a.m. and March 23rd at 1 p.m. So thank you guys so much for joining us. We appreciate you guys in coming. Let us know if you have any questions.